final jigsaw pieces of the Stargate drama might be falling into place. But how is that related to news about DC Studios? Welcome to Sidetrack, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. First of all, the news that Peter Safran and James Gunn have been hired as the co-executive producer and executive producer of the newly formed DC Studios is, I find, fantastic news. I think it's actually a really clever idea that David Zaslav has gone in this direction, that he has picked in Peter Safran, a manager, somebody that is very good at operating at an executive level, but brought in James Gunn as a creative sideman. Now, I initially heard the story that James Gunn had been put in charge of the new DC studio, and I thought, well, that's crazy. He's a very creative guy. He's never sort of been at the executive level. Now, they've been trying to find their Kevin Feige for a while, but Kevin Feige is actually a very good manager. He's not the most creative person, but he's never been a writer or a director or things like this. He is a showrunner. He is a head man. He's the captain of the ship. That is not James Gunn. But what they've done here is very clever. They have the creative person. There's somebody to give them a creative lead and paired him with a manager to keep everything flowing in the right direction. But I hear you cry. What on earth has this got to do with Stargate? You know, that's obviously my favorite thing to talk about. So here goes. This might actually lead into one of the final pieces that MGM have been waiting for. Don't forget that if you enjoy the content, you can hit the join button and become a fully fledged side tracker. That really helps out the channel. You can go to side-track.com. There's loads of like merchandisey things on there and a load of new designs coming very soon. Also, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you miss none of our new videos, as well as the Sidetrack Sides channel. For 8 to 9 months now, I've been saying to you that Amazon had a couple of different ideas in mind of what they would like to do with Stargate, the sleeping giant of sci-fi. Plan A was always to produce a movie first, a movie that would kickstart the new franchise. They had an idea for a structure of how they wanted the franchise to move forward, and that started with a film, then a series, then potentially a sequel movie, and then move on to a larger Marvel sort of style universe. Now, it was been assumed, and assumed by me, that that plan had kind of been scrapped because they always said they then had a plan B. That plan B was start with a series because you can produce a series much quicker, and they wanted this on their screens reasonably quickly. For example, if the sale had dragged on for much longer, they wouldn't have pushed forward with a film because we wouldn't have got on our screens till, say, 2025 or even later. They'd have gone with a series first because they could get it on the screens within, say, 6 months. So we assumed that's where they were going. And the rumors we've been hearing led into that because we've been hearing about Hawk Ostby and Mark Fergus setting up a sort of series Bible and planning a structure for the franchise moving forwards. We then hear lots of rumors about a showrunner being decided upon and that they would potentially be able to join MGM sometime around Christmas. So how does that lead into the news about DC and blah, blah, blah? If Amazon do decide they are going to stick with plan A and go with a movie, they would need a chief executive in charge of movies at MGM. And guess what? They don't have one. Very early on, after the sale of MGM to Amazon was finalized, Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca quit or were pushed. They left MGM and they were the chief executives in charge of movies. They very quickly moved over to Warner Brothers. They are actually the chief executive of Warner Brother Movies today. They're going to be working very closely with James Gunn and Peter Safran as part of a very collaborative project on DC Studios and planning the next 10 years of DC movies. Now, why did they quit? The rumor is very clearly that Amazon were not 100% honest with Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca during the 6 months while they were waiting for the sale to go through. Amazon made them believe they were going to continue to have a certain element of autonomy and creative freedom with MGM Pictures. But then the second the sale went through, it became very clear that that was not 100% honest, Amazon made the argument that due to COVID and things, their plans had to change. Whether you believe that or not is up to you. But Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca obviously didn't, and they jumped ship. Since then, MGM has not had a chief executive of movies, and the chief executives at Amazon Pictures have been sort of taking on that role while they look for a replacement. Now, the replacement that they want is a lady called Emma Watts, who was previously the chief executive at Fox Pictures before the Disney sale, and she's done a few other things since. They apparently, according to several sources, including Variety and a couple of people I speak to, spoke to Emma Watts and a couple of other people a month or two ago. But Amazon were very impressed with Emma Watts and Emma Watts' vision for MGM over the next 10 years. She is the woman they want. But DC also wanted her for the new DC pictures, and Warner Brothers had spoken to her more than once over the last few months. Now, the rumor I heard was that Emma Watts favored MGM, but there's been a few little issues with the negotiations, which we'll talk about in a second. She didn't want to go to DC and made that clear a little while ago because she didn't think she was going to get the creative freedom and autonomy that she wanted as the chief executive of the new DC studios. David Zaslav always had this idea of a collaborative approach that she really didn't feel that comfortable with. Now, she's been negotiating with MGM for, nearly 2 months, 3 months now. Why hasn't it happened yet? I personally am speculating here a little bit, but I think she's negotiating very hard again to get that creative freedom and autonomy that she wants. She wants to run MGM Pictures the way she wants to run it. And Amazon Pictures don't. Amazon Pictures have a very specific idea of how they want this run, and, well, that's causing an interesting negotiation. Obviously, as well, there's going to be a large financial package and so on and so on. The contracts when you're bringing in a new chief executive of something are never 100% straightforward. So we're moving in that direction. So once Emma Watts is in place, though, that would be the final piece they need to start moving forwards with the franchise. But I hear you cry. Why couldn't we move forward with the TV series? So I've spoken to somebody that is not related to MGM, but he's sort of spoken to me about why this might be happening. And again, this is based on his opinion, but it is opinion based on somebody that actually works with Warner Brothers now and has experience in this area. He has said, when you're creating a major franchise like this, you need 2 or 3 different pieces in place. You need somebody that's going to be the television showrunner. You need somebody that's going to direct and potentially be the showrunner for the movie. And you need the executives in charge to then round off that team. Now, Michael Wright is in charge of scripted material at MGM. He would oversee and be in charge of the TV series. Hopefully, Emma Watts will become the chief executive of MGM, and go and have a look at some of her credits that she's worked on. She's worked on some major projects that you will love, including like the X-Men franchise and several other things. So, I mean, this is a woman actually, I think, in charge of MGM Pictures would be amazing. But she would then, in theory, be in charge of the movie part of the franchise. A showrunner would 100% though be involved in both. They would have a foot in both camps. And then you have the director of any new project and the writers. All of these people need to work together to create a cohesive franchise, or you end up getting a fragmented product, a movie that is one style or goes in one direction, TV that goes in another show, another direction, and it will just become a bit of a mess, a bit like DC over the last 10 years. And we don't want that. Again, it looks like this is also going to be decided around maybe Christmas time. I'm hoping now the DC decision has been announced and is finalized, that will push forward and that hopefully we'll get a decision on Emma Watts. And MGM, I should say as well, are actually making some big hirings at the moment. Monica Mesa was the staff writer from Lost. She worked on the last season of MacGyver. She's also Ganterfield on Netflix, where she was nominated for a Peabody Award. MGM recently signed her up for a multi-year exclusive deal. Also, the Killing Eve writer, Laura Neal, has also been signed up to, again, a multi-year exclusive deal with MGM. Now, I'm not suggesting either of these ladies are going to have anything to do with Stargate, But they are the first major exclusive deals MGM have struck since the Amazon sale. It does show that MGM are finally starting to actually get a team together and start moving forwards. The next big hiring they need to do is a chief executive in charge of movies. And then maybe finally we can start getting some really official news about Stargate. And I know this is frustrating for lots of people. It's a roller coaster. Also, if you are a regular Star Trekker, I speak to lots of people and I will tell you rumors. I will tell you what I think about those rumors, whether I believe them or not. And that at times it's been a very confusing picture because the picture has constantly changed. We had everything running up to the sale actually being finalized. MGM ready to go forwards with a TV show with Brad Wright. Then Amazon dropping the hammer and making it very clear that was not going to happen. So the whole story changed. We've then had lots of different rumors coming about the TV show, and at times, because of the sources I have, we've not had the full picture. But it does feel like we're starting to get that full picture. Lots of the rumors that we've been hearing are finally starting to make a little bit more sense. Things like the work that Hawk Ostby and Mark Fergus are doing. It makes sense if we're in a little bit of a holding pattern. The chief executives of Amazon want there to be a cohesive project, an idea in mind. They want the TV show and movie Bible. They want the foundations of the project all up and ready to go. Then the pieces can be built on top of that. Hopefully, the showrunner will be in place very soon. That doesn't necessarily mean, though, we will get an announcement straight away. I'm hoping I will find out who that is and I will be able to announce it at some point, but that doesn't mean we'll get an official one because then we're going to have to wait for the other pieces to be lined up. It's a little bit like a domino alley effect here. Lots and lots of dominoes are being placed. We just have to wait for them all to be in line before MGM are willing to push over the first and publicly announce the new series of Stargate. So guys, get in the comments and tell me what you think. Do you think this does feel like we're moving towards something big? Or does it feel just like more news? And I have to be honest with you, at times I've started to think this maybe isn't going to happen. It just feels like too long is going on and there's too many different rumors and too much going on. And maybe it just isn't going to happen. Maybe it's just going to get stuck in development hell. And maybe we're not going to get Stargate ever. But I really want to know what you think. And don't forget, if you are new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. It really helps us out. And if you enjoy the content and you want to support the channel, consider becoming a fully fledged Sci Trekker. Hit the join button. As always, guys, please stay safe. I'll see you next time.